Well, a record number, 200,000 sellers have now slashed their asking price of their home in the United States. And what's more is 44% of sellers are actually giving buyer concessions. So the market is definitely changing right now. The housing market is changing this spring selling season. And you probably want more details. You want to find out what's happening in the housing market behind the scenes. That's my job, to give you the data you need to make an informed decision. If you came to the Housing Nerd hoping I would tell you to run out and buy a house right now because prices may go back up, or if you expected me to tell you to marry the house and date the rate, you came to the wrong channel. Not going to tell you those things. If you came to the Housing Nerd hoping I would tell you that the market has never been so toxic, you also came to the wrong channel, because I'm not going to tell you that either. Again, I'm here to give you the data to make an informed decision about buying, investing, or selling real estate. All right, pretty simple. So let's get started right now. So how this is going to work today is I'm going to take the first section of this live to review all the housing market data on a national basis and review the latest Redfin update and article. Then I'm going to review the metros that you requested as a viewer. So I have a whole list of metros that many of you have already requested over the last week or so, and I'm going to review those again. Excuse me. I'm going to review those metros that you've requested, and if you have a metro you want me to analyze, drop it in the comments, and I will get to it. But that's the second half of the video. So please also hit the like button if you join, make some comments. I really want to know what's happening in your local housing market. All right, let's get going with some of this data. And to do so, we're going to look at the latest Redfin article. Here it is right now. All right, economic jitters. High cost stifle spring home sales. No kidding, right? New listings are rising, allowing some buyers to get deals. Good news, right? You can actually go out maybe and get a deal now. Although what I'm seeing in my comments don't really tell me that. What I'm seeing in my comments is that most markets are not offering deals, but you comment and tell me what's going on locally. Are you seeing better prices? I mean, I am hearing people say inventory is exploding. People are cutting their prices locally. But what I'm not hearing about are people actually buying homes and getting a deal. I'm not hearing about that yet, especially affordable homes. Pending home sales fell 3.4% year over year during the 4 weeks ending May 11th to their lowest level on record for this time of year aside from 2020. Would-be home buyers are backing off for two main reasons. One, rising home sale prices and elevated mortgage rates pushed this week's median housing payment to $2,860, just $6 shy of the record set the week before. Two Redfin agents in many parts of the country, including Oregon, North Carolina, Texas, and Ohio, report that some buyers are backing off because they're nervous about the future of the U.S. economy. There's also the holiday effect. Easter fell into this year's 4-week period, not the comparable period in 2024. So I want to know from you. Comment and let me know. Were you planning to buy a house, or do you think that maybe, the economic uncertainty in the economy is keeping people from buying homes? Do you think that's happening? Maybe it's happened to you. I'd like to know. Or is it just that home prices are, still at all-time highs and interest rates are high? Or is it another reason? I'd like to know. There's a lot of doubt and hesitation among house hunters, said Mimi Loggins, a Redfin premier agent in Portland, Oregon. People are starting their home search, then backing out because they either talk to their lender and realize how high their payment would be, or they're feeling jittery about tariffs, a potential recession, and or possibility of getting laid off. One smart strategy I'm seeing among the people who are buying right now, they're looking for condos or small houses to lower their monthly payments and simplify their life. And a smart strategy for sellers is offering mortgage rate buydowns to pique buyers' interest. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be smart to buy a smaller home, right? Maybe downsize. And yeah, people are starting their home search, and then they're probably, I agree with this, they're calling their lender and going, man, like these payments aren't going to work for me. I got to come, I got to take a break. That makes sense. I mean, if payments are high, if it's not affordable, you shouldn't buy it. I mean, now is not the best time to buy real estate for any other reason except, well, it may not be the best time for you. It may be the best time for somebody else. It's just not the best time for everybody. And I don't think the market's ever like that. By the way, to tell buyers and sellers that, just you as a viewer, that you should not buy a home or you should buy a home is nuts, in my opinion. Tell me what you think, but I think that's crazy. Like, I don't know your situation. To pretend I know all the people that watch my channel, all whatever, 3,500 of them, that would be nuts to know that, to think that I know your situation. So I can't say that. Chen Zhao, Redfin's head of economic research, said that while this week's news about the U.S. slashing tariffs on China is boosting the stock market and reducing the risk of a recession, it's also pushing mortgage rates up. It's a catch-22 for home buyers, Zhao said. Mortgage rates are unlikely to fall unless the new tariffs are eliminated, or if the country falls into a fairly severe recession, which would cut housing budgets for many Americans. Okay. Yeah, we'll just keep going here. On the selling side, new listings are up 5.1% year over year. And the total number of homes for sale, this is a warning, folks. Like, this shows you that the lock-in effect, well, this really shows me two things. One, the lock-in effect is still around. It's still very much in play, meaning a lot of people have either a zero mortgage beyond taxes and insurance, or they have a they have a low mortgage payment, right? They have a low mortgage payment because of what? A low mortgage rate and probably a low property purchase or home price when they actually bought the home. They're staying put. They're not putting their home on the market. That's why new listings are only up 5.1% year over year, and the total number of houses for sale only up 14% year over year. And you're going to see it here in the data in a minute. Like, the number of homes for sale nationally is like barely moving, it looks like. And I see these headlines of, like, active listings exploding. And I'm like, well, I don't know. The data doesn't show that. Why? Well, nationally, people are still locked into their home. And it also shows me that buyer demand, while really low, there's enough buyers out there to actually kind of balance out some of the listings that are hitting the market. At least here in Columbus, that's what I'm seeing. For buyers, the bright side of rising supply and limited demand is that nearly half of home sellers are giving concessions. Agents advise buyers to try to negotiate the sales price down or ask for money for repairs or closing costs. That makes sense. In a normal market, there's negotiation going on. It's not like the seller controls everything. In some markets still, that is in effect, but not all markets. All right, so here are the leading indicators. Daily average 30-year fixed mortgage rate, 6.95%. Let's see what it shows for Mortgage News Daily. Well, Mortgage News Daily shows 6.96%. That's a change actually down of 0.03% since yesterday. So we're right at 7%. And a lot of people, a lot of experts, mortgage experts, real estate experts have thought, and economists have thought, hey, we're going to stay in that 6.5% to 7% range. So far, that's true. Rates have not fallen like a lot of people thought they would. So you tell me if you think rates are going to fall more or fall at all this year. But the rates are down from 7.07% 1 month earlier, and down from 7.12% last year. So they're definitely down, no doubt about it, from last year, but they remain incredibly sticky, incredibly sticky. All right, so now let's get to the next section. What do we got? Mortgage purchase application. Somebody just asked about this on the channel. Timothy something, I believe. I can't remember exactly what their name was. I don't remember their name exactly, but they asked this on a comment, and I responded to tune into this live so we could go over this. They basically claimed that this number was complete hogwash and BS. You tell me if it's BS. Mortgage purchase applications are up 2% from a week earlier and up 18% from last year. 18%. That means there are 18% more people applying for mortgage purchase applications, not refi applications, but purchase applications versus last year. Now, not everybody who applies will actually get qualified. And as they pointed out in this article just a few minutes ago, a lot of the people applying for mortgages may start, may apply for the mortgage once they start the house hunt, or as they start the house hunt, then they get the pre-approval back, and then they start to dial in how much it's going to cost per month. And they're like, wow, that's expensive. To me, that's a waste of time. If you're going to, there's no reason to apply for a mortgage if it's unaffordable completely to buy a home. So save yourself the headache. Just go online to some mortgage calculators, make sure you're taking into account insurance and taxes, and look at the current rates out there. Use Mortgage News Daily. Look at the worst case scenario. Calculate the mortgage payment and go, what is this? Can I afford this with that amount down? I'm amazed how many people use Zillow. Like, look at the house. Happens to me all the time. They'll look at the house on Zillow, look at the price, look at the mortgage payment underneath that, and just say, that's how much it is. And I'm like, well, no, not necessarily. You want to call, or you want to dive into that in more detail to really understand what's going on. And if you really want to get serious, you're going to have to apply at some point and get pre-approved. But until then, just use the online stuff. The point is that, like, a lot of these people are not getting approved, or they're just walking away from the housing market. Otherwise, our pending sales would be up 18% and they're down over 3%. Tell me if I'm nuts. Touring activity. How many people are looking at homes? Up 41% from the start of the year. Okay, what does that mean though? Not sure. At this time last year, it was up 32%. So it's up like 9% year over year, I guess. Is that good? Don't know. But it's not, I mean, I can tell you that, like, the listings I've had recently, or I have now, it's not like there's a line of buyers out the door ready to buy. However, if it's a move-in ready house and it's in good shape and it's priced fairly, and if it's an affordable home priced under the median, those homes are moving. There's no doubt those are moving. Google searches for homes for sale up 13% from a month earlier, up 4% from last year. So it's just a smidge more interest in the housing market. That's what that means. All right, key housing market data. Median sale price, $390,000. 900. Yeah, easy for Ferret to say, or the housing nerd to say. Median sale price, $390,998, up 1.8%. That's it. That number is slowly shrinking, right? That 1.8% number. Median asking price, $429,850, up 6.5% year over year. So people are continue to ask more and more for their homes. Median monthly mortgage payment, $2,860. Holy shnikes, right? Just $6 shy of a record high. Wow. Pending sales, 89,132, down 3.4%. Now look at this. New listings, 107,015 units. One of the things you should pay attention to here is, and a lot of people are like thinking the housing market's going to crash like 50%. Like, I've seen 50, I've seen 60, I've seen 70%. Somebody, I replied to a comment today, the person said home prices were going to fall 85% or something. 85%. I don't know how much they're going to fall, or if they're going to fall a ton. Not sure. But the fact that we only have 107,000 new listings and people think that's a lot shows you kind of people's short memory. Because back during the GFC, we had something like 250, 300,000 new listings hitting the market per week. Per week. Yeah. So this is like not that much. Active listings, 1,093,000. Again, that's barely moving. Like it crept over 1 million units of active listings a few weeks ago, but it hasn't like skyrocketed up. It's going up because people aren't buying homes as much. But man, if people were in distress, if sellers were in distress, you would see it in this number. This number would go up much faster, especially during the spring selling season. There'd be a lot more inventory on the market. It would be going up a lot quicker. But I don't think that distress is here yet. Not saying it's not coming, but it's not here yet. Smallest increase in over a year for active listings. It is what it is. Months of supply, 3.9. Interesting. This actually fell below 4 months. It was 4 months for a while, over 4 months. 4 to 5 months of supply is considered a balanced, with lower number indicating a seller's market. That's true. In this area of Ohio where I am, most school districts are under 2 months of supply for affordable homes. As you move up in price points, it'll creep over 2 into more of a balanced market, but very few buyer markets, like 6-7 months of supply where I live here in central Ohio. And they're all in the higher price categories, like way over the median price, like $750,000 to $1 million home. That's way over the median for here. Those are sitting a lot longer, and that supply is kind of, stacking up. But supply of homes that are affordable, not stacking up. Share of homes off the market in 2 weeks or less, 40%, down from 44%. So homes are sitting longer. When you think about them coming off the market in 2 weeks or less, but median days on market is only up 3 days year over year. That's what I mean by the pain. And also it says something about demand, because this would go up even in the face of seasonality. If there was a lot more pain and a lot less buyer demand, I would think, right? Like this number was in the 50s a few weeks ago. Now it's 37. So homes are actually selling faster, the ones that are on the market, than they were a few weeks ago, but they're still selling slower than last year. Share of homes sold above list price, 27.9. That's down from 31%. So obviously, there are people still paying over asking for homes. And sometimes that's because they're getting concessions on the back end, right? That does happen. Average sale to list price ratio, 99%. Now this confuses people, but this is not the original list price. This is the final list price. In other words, if I have a home listed at 100 grand and I drop the price to $90,000 and somebody gives me 90 grand for the house, I sold it at 100% of the final list price, but I sold it at 90% of the original list price. This one is, this metric here looks at the most recent or the current list price, not the original list. So this 99% doesn't take into account the price cuts that they had previously. I hope that makes sense, but I just want to clear that up. All right. So let's look at where like the biggest winners and losers for the markets. Median sale price, where it's gone up the most: Newark, New Jersey, Philadelphia, PA, Detroit, Michigan, Pittsburgh, Miami, where prices have gone down the most. By the way, they've gone down in 11 of the top 50 metros. That's what this represents, just the top 50 metros. You got Oakland, Dallas, Austin, Phoenix, Tampa. These are like the same ones on the list every time. No really surprises there. Pending sales: Virginia Beach, Detroit, Warren, Michigan, Indianapolis, San Francisco. All those had the biggest increase in pending sales. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, New Brunswick, West Palm Beach, and Las Vegas had the biggest decline in pending sales, and now new listings. Washington, D.C., people have been keeping their eyes on that one. up 17% in new listings. Baltimore, 13%. Las Vegas, 13%. Dallas, rounding up 13%. And Houston, 12%. But look at this market. You've got Vegas, and we're going to dive into Las Vegas here in a little while in much more detail. But as a cursory overview, look at Las Vegas, 12.7% increase in new listings. Now look at Las Vegas, 13% decline in pending sales, or 14%. That tells me that the active inventory there probably is going up. We'll see in a minute, but it should be going up, and prices should be, more price cuts, prices starting to soften even more, because you've got a lot less demand and definitely a lot more listings than last year, new listings. San Jose, Orlando, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Tampa all saw the biggest decrease in new listings. Okay, I'm going to skip these charts down here, and I'm going to move to price cuts, because that's what I led with at the beginning of this video. So let me show you this. So this is from Redfin's data center. And this shows us, and there's two types of data centers that they have. They have monthly data, which that's what this is. Then they actually have weekly data. Now, typically on my lives and in my videos, I review the weekly data. It's just more up to date. But for the purpose of price cuts, I kind of wanted to look at it from a different perspective. So this, I don't know why it changed. Hang on a second. There we go. And I got to adjust seasonality. Look at this. So here we go. Percentage of active listings with price drops. So way back in 2012, when you look at all the listings, it was only 6.9% of all listings had a price drop. 6.9%. That number has steadily gone up, right? Well, not steadily, right? Because we had something called COVID, right? COVID came into effect and dropped it to what? 8.1% of all listings had price drops. And then it kept going, and now it's a record high. You can see that. 21.7, so it's over 20%. So when you have about 1 million listings, that's how I got the 200,000 unit number of, 200,000 homes with a price cut, because it's 21.7. And we got about 1 million listings roughly. So yeah, there's no doubt. And so when we look at the individual metros here in a minute, I will, I'll look at the price cuts or the price drops per metro. By the way, if you have a metro you want me to analyze, drop it in the comments, and I will try to get to it. Hopefully I can today. I have a lot to go over based on the metros that people have already requested. All right, let me resize this. All right, so one thing I did want to show before I got to the metros was this: active listings in all metros. Look at active listings. So here it is. I mean, because this is the bellwether indicator you need to watch in your market. If you could watch one thing in your market, I would suggest active inventory, the number of homes for sale. And you want to pay attention to the homes that are in your price range in the area you want to buy in. If you're looking in, if you're looking at $1 million homes, pointing to them going, look at those price cuts, but you're not buying $1 million home, what does it matter? It's not going to change the, what you're doing. But if you see them in your price category, if you see price drops and active inventory going up, then that's a good indication that there could be more softening going on coming up soon, right? So if you just looked at active listings, I mean, it would be nice if you looked at other things too, but if you looked at just active listings of homes in your area and looked at a historical trend, go back before COVID, have a local realtor pull this information for you, like down to a street level, a zip code level, a subdivision level, a school district level. That's how I like to look at it here locally. Somebody who has access to the MLS, usually a realtor, have them pull the active inventory historically for you by month. Have them do it by month and go back before COVID. Shoot, go back as far as you can get the data, because it's always nice to have it. And just look at it and figure out, are you seeing an increase in active listings or a decline in active listings? If you're seeing an increase in active listings comparatively to like this time last year, this time 3 years ago, this time before COVID, because active inventory obviously dropped when COVID hit. Go back before COVID and look. And just look at it and go, is there more supply on the street or less? If that supply continues to build, especially during the spring right now, that's an indication that prices could come down. If, however, you're not seeing those active inventory numbers go up substantially and homes aren't sitting on the market longer, well, prices may be sticky or they could go up. That's what I would look at if I were you in your market. There's other things you can look at, but that's, if you just want to do the bare bones, that would be it. All right. So that's active listings. That's what I want to say. 14% year over year, but look at the rate of change. This is the scary part. It's going down. We started the year at 19.22% year over year change in active inventory, but that's headed down. It is what it is. It's like, the market is so locked up because sellers refuse to put their homes on the market and move up into that nicer home. And it's not an exciting metric to look at, but it tells us that people are not putting their homes on the market. And they're not it's not desperate selling. It's not distressed selling. People who say if this is distressed selling going on must forget what happened during the GFC. Even people who went through the GFC are like, it's distressed selling. I'm like, if this is distressed selling, then I don't know. That's not great for people waiting on a crash, because you'd want a lot more inventory than this. People pull fire alarms when they're distressed. Like, I got to sell this house and got to sell it today. Foreclosures, short sales, throwing my home on the market in the next 2 days, like emergency, DEFCON 5 type stuff. Or is it DEFCON 4? I think it's DEFCON 5, right? DEFCON 5, got to sell. No question. Anyway, that's what's going on with active inventory. Now, we're going to get to the metros. So we always do Columbus first, but before I do that, I'll take some comments because I haven't taken any yet. If there are any comments, I don't even know if there are any. So we'll start with Columbus on the metro level analysis. And I've got a ton of them. I've got a ton to review. So let me look at the list real quick. I've got Chicago, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Las Vegas, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Milwaukee, Fort Lauderdale, Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Huntsville, Alabama, Sedona, Arizona, Flagstaff, Arizona, San Bernardino County, California, Ventura County, California, Macomb County, Michigan, Williamson County, Tennessee, and Marshall County, Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Bristol County, Massachusetts, Carbon, Monroe, and Pike counties in Pennsylvania. Okay. And that's the list right now. So I'm sure you're going to add to it. Yeah, add to my pain. But please add them, and I will obviously do my job and knock them out. What do I got here? Comments. Look at this first one. Look at this guy. Bristol County, Massachusetts. Yep, it's on my list. Triumphant blunder. Tell this to the realtors out there saying it's a buyer's market and we should grab it while we can. More lawsuits will follow this year due to all these predatory practices from realtor and lenders. Well, I don't know if a slogan like that can be a predatory practice necessarily, but you probably disagree with me. Yeah, listen, I think it's a buyer's market as well, like from a standpoint that the buyers in many areas have more control, well, more leverage than they have had in the past. They're getting an opportunity to ask for concessions. There's price drops. Homes are sitting on the market longer than they did last year, albeit by not much longer. And compared to COVID, it's, in the insanity of COVID, the housing market is much more balanced to buyers. But to say that we should grab it while we can is, that's kind of disingenuous. So I don't agree with that statement. I don't think we should. Well, if you're in the mode of buying and now's the time to buy, or you're like ready to buy, go find your deal. But like to always say gotta buy now, rates, prices only go up. That's not very good. But we'll see what happens. So far, the lawsuits haven't really helped buyers that they put in place. That National Association of Realtor lawsuit, has just made things like more challenging for buyers and sellers somewhat. It's really helped sellers more than anything. So I hope, you know, they really need to be careful with their lawsuits, because they should understand the real life implications of their decisions versus like, you know, I'm just going to make up a law. I'm just going to get a lawsuit so I get paid as an attorney. I think the attorneys in that deal made like $100 million. You think the realtors are crooks? Good grief. I'd also say the government helping to stop repos is a huge part of that. Yes, yes. And I did a pretty extensive video. I filmed it this morning about that situation. Thanks, Stuntfish. You're right. The government has intervened in the housing market. Well, they have for a long time now, and I doubt that'll ever stop. But some of the moratoriums on foreclosures and mortgage delinquencies, those are ending this year instead of next year, and we should see more of that inventory hit the street. Foreclosures are rising. They are rising. I think there were, in the first quarter of the year, there were like 60,000 homes in foreclosure. Not 500,000, but I think in one quarter we had 500,000 when you go back into the GFC. So it's way far from that, but it's definitely rising. Bristol County, Massachusetts, the house that sold in 2022 at 2.7% rate is not worth the same at 6 and 7% interest rate. Most people are priced out. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, if the price of debt goes up, one could say that the cap rate, which is kind of what you're saying, is like, it's obviously the cap rate would go down, right? And that cap rate goes down even further because it's completely unaffordable, and that doesn't help anybody. Yeah, most people are priced out. Just closed on my very first house 2 weeks ago. Good for you. 6.5% FHA, which I was told is going to be the best out there for a while. Moved in last week. So many issues not found in home inspection. Yeah, me. Oh, so Triumph. Was it a existing house or new house? I'd like to know. 6.5%. Not a horrible rate compared to what a lot of people are getting now. It seems like a normal rate. I would say that if you can pay off that amortization schedule early, or puts more money to it at the beginning, that'll definitely help in the long run, depending on what your goals are. But congratulations, and let us know where you live, and if it was a new house, existing house, and what things did you find in the inspection? What things did you find? That's a good lesson for folks. Yeah, home inspections are not encompassing. I've worked with, you know, what I consider some of the best home inspectors in Central Ohio, and they miss stuff. They do. They just miss stuff. I think, Nikki R., what's up? I think there are more people on the house hunt because last year houses were too competitive and now they're sitting and slashing. What's the number of people applying versus actually getting one? I don't have that data. I wish I did. I wish I did. But you're right. I think one of the factors bringing some buyers out of the woodwork is that there are more houses to choose from and houses are sitting longer. I agree. Thanks for the comment. Oh, hey, peeps. What's up, Modema? Nikki R., what do you think the bill in Ohio to get rid of or adjust property taxes will do to the housing market? Wow, that's a great question. So in Ohio, what Nikki's talking about is that there's all these states that are trying to repeal property taxes. But in Ohio, it's like, I think, the furthest along. So the Attorney General has already approved it. And they are actually working to put it on the ballot in November. And so the guy's name is Dave Yost. He's the Ohio Attorney General. I had to double check his name because I didn't want to botch it. But they're repealing property taxes, perhaps, and it would go into effect, I think they said like mid, because the budget's, I think, starting in the summer, so like mid 2026. Couple things about that. The taxes, if they get rid of, so it's not an adjustment, they want to get rid of them. So if they get rid of property taxes, it's on all properties, from what I understand, including investor properties. So like a duplex I own here in the area, no more property tax for me. What do I think it'll do to the housing prices? I think it'll make them go up. I think it'll increase property taxes. I mean, think about it as a buyer. You're not saying this is how you should think, but I think this is what a lot of people will gravitate towards. Hey, and the other thing is they have to get that money from somewhere. So let's pretend they increase sales tax. By the way, I haven't figured out how they're going to do that. I haven't seen a proposal on that. But let's pretend they're going to increase property taxes, or I'm sorry, sales tax. If they increase sales tax, then a buyer who's looking at their monthly budget isn't going to pay attention to their sales tax necessarily for like buying groceries. They're just going to go, hey, look at that payment on a house. All of a sudden it's $800 cheaper, $1,000 cheaper, $1,500 cheaper a month because I don't have any property tax. So I think it's going to make a big difference. Will it lower rent prices? I'm not so sure it will. I think people give other people too much credit. I'm not sure it's going to lower rent prices. Will I lower my rent prices? If I can, absolutely. Absolutely, I will. If that's a real thing, I'm happy to lower my rent prices. It'd be great to be able to go to all my tenants and say, hey, here's a rent decrease. Are you sitting down? Right? It would be awesome, but I got to see it. I got to see the actual replacement cost for those property taxes. If it's some kind of investor fee or something that negates my property tax savings, I probably won't discount rent. But I do think it's going to increase house prices because people will be able to pay more monthly. Maybe that's what they're trying to do at the end of the day. Just saying. But great question. Congratulations, Triumph. That was so wonderful. Oh, his house. Right. Congratulations. I need like a button, like a congratulations button. At the current pace, when will the market become fairly priced in line with historical average? Oh, shoot. Like, well, at the current pace, never. Because right now we're still up year over year. So if it continues to go up 1.8%, well, I can't say never. If incomes increase more than 1.8% year over year for years and years and years in the future, then yeah, at some point it will balance out. But right now, home prices are still going up nationally. They actually, I read a study that said affordable housing in the Midwest won't return or may not return for 40 years. They said the Northeast may not return indefinitely. That was an article. I can't remember where I read that article. I apologize. I should know it to be able to reference it. But then they also said the South and the West are a few years from affordability, like 3 or 4 years. Cape Coral, Florida. All right. I got to add that one to the list. I will add it. Did you discuss the Resi Club report on the number of unsold completed homes for sale? It is back to 2009 level. You're right. You're right. Absolutely. It is back to 2000 and is it back to 2000? Yeah, you're right. The number of uncompleted new homes. I'm sorry. The number of unsold completed homes, easy for me to say, is back to 2009 level. You're right. Wow. Man, Edwin's like funding my pizza tab because I get pizza every Friday. And the last, what's it been, Edwin? 3 Fridays or 3 weeks now? You've given me a super chat. So there's my pizza money for this week. Because every Friday I order pizza. Edwin is asking for $10K for concessions after inspection reasonable for an older home. Some broken appliances, radon, $550,000 home. Realtor suggested, what do you think? Yes, well, I don't know the exact situation, but do what you think, do what is needed to get you the deal that you want and need. And so if there are $10,000 in repairs, radon is a couple thousand usually, right? Could be more depending on the size of the home. Broken windows, is that what you said? Some broken appliances and radon. Yeah, appliances aren't cheap. There's a replacement cost for that stuff. If that wasn't disclosed in the property disclosure, if you didn't know that going in, even if you knew that going in, there's nothing wrong with, going back to the seller and telling them, hey, I need a discount on this house. Nothing wrong with that. As a seller, you don't have to take that either, right? A seller could be like, nope, I'm going to put it back on the market. Sorry, Edwin. Or they could say yes. But yeah, I mean, if you think that there are that many repairs that are needed and your realtor sounds like they like it or they think the idea makes sense, then nothing wrong with asking for it as long as you're cool with the seller walking away. If you're not married to the house, if you're not like, I got to have that home, otherwise I'm ruined. Well, then, roll the dice. Do what makes sense for you. But thank you for the super chat again. Very nice of you. Very, very nice. I know you've been looking, so I'm curious to see how this all turns out. The other thing I would also wonder, well, it doesn't really matter. Even if the house was like originally listed at, because I don't know where the house was listed. If it was listed at 600 and you put it in contract at 550 grand, and now you're asking for more concessions, probably less likely to get those. However, if that house is in contract now, which it sounds like it is, the seller has they have an internal motivation perhaps to continue with the sale and just give you the 10 grand off rather than relisting the home. It kind of depends on how motivated the seller is too. But really it comes down to also just the fact that if you're not married to the deal, but you get it. So good work. Edwin, concession is absolutely fine. Just make sure they're asking for enough. Things are always hidden behind the walls, floor, ceiling. Just because a realtor says 10K, that might be very low. Agreed. I agree. Maybe have some, contractors come in the house and take a look. Have an actual rate on quote done. I don't know if you've had that done, but you could have a rate on quote done. That would, Edwin, that would help too. And then Wally asked, do you have inspections? Okay, I need to get to these metros. Otherwise, I'm never going to finish this video. Whoops, let me go back. All right, guys, now let's get to these metros. First off, Columbus, Ohio. People are like, woo, Columbus. Don't care. 4.9% increase in new listings year over year. I mean, it's a meager increase, but not a ton. Not a ton. Let's look at pending sales. Pending sales, 2%. That's it, up year over year. So we're not down year over year in Columbus, but not exponentially higher, obviously. A little more activity, a little more demand, but honestly, there's not a ton of great inventory out there either. So I think that's, keeping the buyers at bay. I think Nikki pointed that out maybe. Active listings in Columbus. What do we got going on? By the way, I'm doing Columbus and doing Cleveland and Cincinnati first because I live in Ohio. 19.51% active inventory in Columbus. But it's kind of been going sideways in this rate of change all year. So again, just not a ton of great inventory from what I see. But there are more homes for sale than last year. And it's a 4-year high in Columbus. All right, let's look at price drops in Columbus. How many people are cutting prices in Columbus? It's a 4-year high, 6%. Now, this is 6% in the last 4 weeks, different than just all the houses and how many price cuts or how many have cut a price at least once. This is just in the last 4 weeks, 6%. And that's a 4-year high in Columbus. All right, now let's do median sale price in Columbus. Wow, look at that. So median sale price was adjusted down 2% back last week in Columbus. Now it's back up 344 grand. I'm not surprised. I don't see this thing falling that much over the next few weeks or few months, even this year. I just don't see it with the slow, sluggish housing market we have in Columbus. There's just not a lot of inventory for sale, and buyers, have backed off. Now, if we get that tax, that really won't affect this year. But next year, we get that tax decrease or the property tax elimination, I would think that prices will go up. That's my guess. So that's Columbus. Now let's do Cleveland. Cleveland, Ohio, new listings 4.9% up year over year. Not that much. No big deal there. Look at pending sales, down 3%, 4-year low for Cleveland. But new listings aren't skyrocketing up. So active inventory, I wonder what that's doing. Active listings. It's sideways. Very boring market. 6.67% up year over year. That's it. And there are a lot of markets, folks, that are tight. A lot of loose markets too. But Cleveland's a pretty tight market. Let's look at price drops in Cleveland. Wow, look at something happened here with the data. Not sure what. But back in, or that was back a couple years ago. But now 6.4%, kind of on par with national numbers with price drops. Let's look at median sale price. How's the median sale price? 240 grand, 4-year high, up 7, call it 8% year over year. Good grief. Cleveland can't catch a break, man. If you're looking for a home in Cleveland, you got to feel completely just priced out of the market. I mean, many of you are probably thinking 240 grand. I'll take 3, please. 4, 3, 5. I'll take 3, please, right? 3 houses. 240. But for the locals there, it's difficult when prices have gone up and up and up, and now they're a 4-year high again. No good. Let's see what's happening in Cincinnati. .2% year over year, just like Columbus, just like Cleveland. Not amazing. Pending sales, what are those doing? 2.3% up year over year. So just a slow, sluggish market in Ohio. Active listings, look at this, 12.63% up year over year. I mean, yeah, it's just not a whole lot of movement. I think people are just sitting out of the housing market right now in a lot of areas. Just taking a break. Nothing wrong with that. Price drops in Cincinnati. Wow, look at this chart. 5.1% of all active listings had a price drop in the last 4 weeks. Only 5.1% of the listings, but that's still, well, that's on par with what they usually see. It's not like Columbus or Cincinnati, Columbus or Cleveland, where that number, or nationally, where the price cuts are exponentially higher than they have been the last few years. Okay, so let's go back to my list and see what other markets I've got. Next is Chicago. Chicago, Illinois. $48. Chicago. I'm just writing it down so I don't have to come back and figure out when I actually looked at Chicago. New listings in Chicago. 4.5% up year over year, a little more. They need a lot of help in Chi-Town. I mean, it's not great. Pending sales only up 1.9% year over year. Not good at all. And they definitely need more active listings. Look at this. Active listings in Chicago are down 3.39% year over year. It's a 4-year low. You have fewer homes for sale in Chicago than you've had in the last 4 years, or the last 3 years, I guess. But it's a 4-year low. Jeez, man, that is not fun if you're there in Chicago. And look at the trend. Look at this trend going from this year, right? Going down as far as year over year gain. So you're losing inventory right now, not gaining it in Chicago. Crazy. I look at that and just, then wow, there's definitely a difference. of markets. And even in the face of that, look, you have 3.2% of sellers cutting their asking price in Chicago. So it's like, you see it, not as much active inventory, not as many new listings hitting the market. Sellers, for the most part, are like, no, I don't need to cut my asking price. Why? They're just reacting to the market, right? Median sale price, what do we got there? 370 grand, up 4.6% year over year. $370,000 in Chicago. Wowee. Wow. Next up is Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. 5048. All right, let's do it. Got 65 people on. Thanks for joining us. Hit the like button. Don't be a freeloader. New listings, Washington, D.C., up 17%. And if you're joining us and you have a metro you want me to look at, it'll be at the end of this video because I have a ton of metros to look at in front of you. I'm happy to do it. 17% increase year over year in new listings. So they definitely have more new listings. However, it's not a 4-year high, which is shocking. Back in, 2022? They had 2,088 listings. Now they've got 1,854 listings, new listings hitting the market at this time. Not listings on the market. Let's look at, let me do pending sales first. Pending sales in Washington, D.C., look at this, down 0.8, less than 1% down, basically flat in pending sales. Active listings, look at that, up 29% year over year. 13,667 active listings. At this point last year, they had about 10,787 active listings. So they've got, roughly 3,000 more active units for sale, active listings on the market. Well, people have been wondering what's going to happen with DC, with the housing market there. Definitely have more inventory. Let's look at price drops. Yep. Up. 5.8% of all listings have price drops. So this can also be a little deceiving, though, because if somebody has to list their home because they were terminated, maybe they're a government employee and they were terminated, their employment was terminated, well, then they may not have to discount their house, meaning they may list the house at a lower price off the gate, and then it's purchased. That could be what's happening. But let's look at this real quick. New listing median price. Well, that's continued to go up. Okay. So housing nerds confused. 6.55% up year over year for new listings. In other words, how expensive compared to last year are the new listings hitting the market, and those continue to go up. So maybe it's just more expensive houses being listed, but houses there are expensive. There's no doubt. All right. So we did price drops. Now we got to do median sale price. Median sale price, $602,000. That's up. What's that? 4% year over year. It's an all-time high in DC. The prices, it doesn't seem like it's reflected that yet as far as, median sale price in the area, but this is like an aggregate, 40,000 foot view of the DC market. It's not, every individual neighborhood segmented out. You could see though, down here at the bottom, you can see that we're going sideways, or the price is going sideways. Price gain is going sideways. For median sale price. So maybe there's some relief coming up. But if you know somebody or you're in DC, I'd love to know what's happening in that market, like a lot of people would like to know. Are you seeing more inventory, less inventory? What's going on? Okay, next metro is, well, kind of close by. Might as well do Baltimore while we're at it. Baltimore. Baltimore. Baltimore, 55, 4, 55, 04. All right, let's do it. New listings. 1,018 up 13%. Definitely have some more new listings to deal with. Good. You need that. Everybody needs that. There's really probably not many markets except Cape Coral, Florida, where you don't need new listings. Oh, shoot. Let's do pending sales. Pending sales in Baltimore, Maryland. 886, 1.1% up year over year. It's not down like it is nationally, but it ain't up a ton either. Now active listings. Look at that. Wow. Straight up. 17.72% year over year in active listings in Baltimore. It's a 4-year high by far. By far. What did we have last year here? 6,000. Now you got 7,000, about 1,000 more active listings, which is good. You want to see that. You want to see more and more active listings if you're in Baltimore trying to buy. Now let's look at price drops. What do we got? 6.8% of all listings had a price drop in the last 4 weeks in Baltimore. Kind of like what we're seeing nationally in like a lot of other markets. And remember, that's just in the last 4 weeks. Doesn't mean they didn't have a price cut before that. If they've been on the market for a year or, 90 days and they had a couple price cuts before the last 4 weeks, it's not reflected in that percentage. Let's look at median sale price. Wow, look at median sale price in Baltimore. $403,000, up 7% year over year. Wow. It's still expensive. I don't see any, in the median sale price anyway, it's not reflected yet as far as any discounts people are getting. Okay. Next metro. Las Vegas, 5770. All right. Time for Las Vegas. You know what? Go. Let's do new listings in Vegas. 12.7%, but it's going down year over year. That number is headed down, and the rate of change isn't exploding. So that confuses me big time. I thought maybe we would see a lot more activity with new listings in Vegas, but we're not. We're not. Of course, it is starting to get really hot there. Maybe that's a seasonality thing with them. I don't know. Look at active listings though. Up 43%. That's an increase, folks. That's an increase. Last year there were 7,440. Now there are 10,636 active listings in Las Vegas metro area. That's a 4-year high. It's for this time of year, it's a 4-year high. Like last year, they peaked out at 12,000, almost 13,000 active listings. And look at that. And this isn't last year. In 2022, they peaked near 13,000 listings, and that was up 64% at that time, year over year. Now it's up 43%. That's called an explosion of active listings. There's no doubt. And it looks like it just wants to keep going. So, Did I do pending sales already? No, I didn't do pending sales. Look at pending sales, down 13.6%. 4-year low. Nobody's buying there. That's probably why active listings are going up the way they are. Now let's do price drops. Price drops. 6.6% headed up. Look at where you peaked. In 2022, it was 10% of listings had price drops. 10%, that was the peak. Wow. But now 6.6, kind of where you are nationally. Like nationally, we're right around that number. Now, median sale price. Median sale price, $452,000. It is a 4-year high for this time of year, up 2.5% year over year. So it's still up. Median sale price is still up, but it's threatening to go underneath 2022. Look what happened in 2022, by the way. A lot of markets peaked in 2022. $456,000 in Vegas, kind of in the summer, and then it just fell off a map, like fell off the cliff. Like, look at that. The median sale price went way down. Now, and it went down to 415 grand and kept going down. In fact, in 2022, median sale price in Vegas ended up at 401 grand. That was 22, and the red line is 23. The red line started at 401 back in early 2023. That steadily went up, and then look what happened. In 2024, it started off at 415 and kept going up and up, ended at 442, started this year at 436, and now it's 452. So it's nearly an all-time high in Vegas for the median sale price. But my point is, look at this downward draft, I guess you could call it, of median sale price. Now watch this. Look at active inventory in that same time period. That's what I mean. Like, if you see a curve in your market going up with active inventory, it's possible that what you'll see is the home price dropping like, whoops, that's not the right one. It's possible you'll see home prices do this. Right? Down. I mean, look at that drop. That's severe. So when there's distress in the market, or people need to sell, not want to sell, big difference, then you're going to see it in the active inventory. Anyway, I thought that was pretty telling, and a good example of what a market with hyper inventory looks like versus like the Columbus area or even Baltimore, where you're like, well, the prices haven't gone down yet because maybe inventory isn't painful enough yet for the market. Okay, next is I've got Indianapolis. 102, 102. All right, let's do Indy. $839 new listings. That's up 10%. Some good inventory there. I mean, some good growth of new listings. Maybe not inventory. Let's find out. Pending sales. 838, only up 3%. I guess the good news is it's up. Bad news is not up a ton. If you're a realtor there or something. Let's look at price drops. Or no, we'll look at active inventory first. Active inventory in Indianapolis, 5,301. That's up 8.85%, and it's headed down. Active inventory in Indianapolis not headed up anymore. It's starting to head down a lot. Yeah, that's, again, not every market has explosive growth in inventory. Price drops in Indy, what do we got? 10.3% up year over year. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. 10% of all listings have had one price drop, up 1.7% year over year. That's a 4-year high. So they're at 10%. Other markets are at 6%. This is the highest one we've seen. A lot of price cuts in Indianapolis for sure. Median sale price. What do we got? Hey, look at this. It's down 1%. Well, kind of. Barely, basically flat, but Redfin saying 1%. So a market where we're actually seeing median sale price lower. All right. Pittsburgh is next. Pittsburgh next. Let's do new listings in Pittsburgh. Man, it's getting warm out here. 676 new listings in Pittsburgh, PA, the Steel City, 4.7% up year over year. But like a lot of the other areas in the Midwest, not very impressive. Look at pending sales, down 2.9%, yada, 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 same thing, right? Active inventory, 4-year high, only up 5.8% in Pittsburgh. Price drops, how are they? Wow, 5.4%. Still some people cutting prices, but what has that done to the median sale price? Look at the median sale price. Holy shnikes, $258,000, up 10%. Would it shock you to know that during the GFC's worst years in the housing market, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania's home value actually increased 5%? Yep, it increased 5% during the GFC. A lot of people think that demise of home prices was like 50% across the board. Nationally, I think it was like 23% according to Zillow data. And some markets went up, like Pittsburgh. Some only went down a few percentage points. Like, well, in Columbus, it was like 11%. And there were not a ton of major metros that went down like 60, 70% in value. So it shocked me when I saw that data. I was like, what? So Pittsburgh is like incredibly stable. Even during the worst years of the housing market, they didn't, I mean, you look at the line, it's like just steady, steady growth throughout the last 3 decades. Okay. So that is Pittsburgh. You know what? I did Pittsburgh. Let me jump into Bristol County because maybe that's more fair because somebody was on the live who wants Bristol. And then I'll come back and I'll do Cape Coral, Florida. And if you have one, I'll search through the comments right now and do ones that people are on with the live. Then I'll backtrack and do the requests that I got over the last week. Let's do new listings in Bristol County, Massachusetts. Bristol County, Massachusetts, 6.4% up year over year. Not that many, 128 new listings hitting the market, pending sales. How are they doing in Bristol County? Only up 1.5%. Not many people listing, not many people buying. Active listings in Bristol County, up 17%. Not a 4-year high, but definitely up compared to last year. How about price cuts? How are you doing on price cuts in Bristol County? 4.8%. It's a 4-year high in price cuts there, but you're not as high as the national number. Over 6% of sellers have cut price. All right. Median sale price. What is that doing in Bristol County? $549. Jeez. Man, I'm sorry. Unless you're selling a house, then congratulations. 549 grand, up 10%. 10% year over year. And that thing's going whoop right up, straight up right now. Not great. The Northeast is a brutal housing market. Maybe one of the worst housing markets in the country as far as affordability and it's being tight with inventory. Pretty tough. All right, that was at 109. 109. Bristol. Okay, so hopefully that helps you out. Let's see. Somebody wanted. Okay. And if I miss it, go ahead and comment again. Cape Coral, let's do that one. Cape Coral, Florida. Whoops. Cape Coral Metro. Whoop. Cape Coral, Florida. Whoa. Look at new listings in Cape Coral, Florida. I gotta triple check this screen to make sure this is right. New listings down 8.9%. It's a complete surprise. I think there's so much like desire for Florida to crash as a housing market that I think the universe is trying to will the Florida market to crash. But I got to tell you, there's areas that I look at that I scratch my head and go, all right, well, where's this distress? You know, when you got new listings down this much, it tells me that there can't be a lot of distress there. Now, I know the books could be cooked. You may think that. You may even say that. You probably comment on my channel if you think that. But you can only look at what the data that you have to look at, right? That's all you can do. 26.5% of increase in active listings. So you are at a 4-year high with active inventory, but it's been going down recently, right? That rate of change has been going down in the last few weeks. So not that impressive as I thought it would be. Price drops. Look at this. Okay, folks, again, different markets, different price drops. You're at 7.4% of all active listings have had a price drop in the last 4 weeks. That's only up 0.6% year over year, and that's headed down. So it's not like the price cuts are exploding like you see in the other markets. They're like, woo, straight up. Not in Cape Coral, Florida. Who would have known? Median sale price. Now, look at this. Down 7%. So it's almost like, when did this happen? We're at least this housing market's interesting to look at. Like Pittsburgh and Columbus and Cleveland, Cincinnati. It's like, those are boring markets. Nothing's happening. $392,000 back in March. And then it kept dropping. Now 378. Your all-time peak was 421. So you tell me, whoever requested, well, I think you did, right? I got them on the screen. Anessa, you tell me, is that a crash in your market from 421 to 378? That's where the peak was, according to Redfin data. 421, and now you're all the way down to 378. Look at back in 2022, that was a 30% increase year over year in the median sale price. So is it possible, if we go back to active listings, is it possible that this growth right here in active inventory at the beginning of the year, right? Because you started off at like 12,223 units, then you went all the way up to 4,600 units, 14,800 units. And so is it possible that that increase in inventory here then made the median sale price go down that much? And then after those homes were sold through, the good ones anyway, or the ones that would move, now you're just kind of going sideways because inventory seems to be going sideways. Maybe, but pretty interesting to look at. But thank you for suggesting Cape Coral, Florida. I hope that helped. What else we got? I'm just looking up. I just want to make sure I don't skip anybody. Shasta County, California. Look at this one. Would you look at Shasta County? Sure. Shasta County, California. You're down 3.5% in new listings. Pending sales. Let's see how you're doing with that. Whoops. Up 2.6% in pending sales. So a little more activity with pending sales, but down with new listings. It's crazy, some of these metros that are down with new listings. It just boggles my mind. Active listings. Look at that, up 26% year over year. And it's going up. I mean, that number is going up. The rate of change is kind of flat. Price drops? What's up? What do you got with price drops? Oh, man. There we go. Price drops, 7.7% higher than the national average, where you're like in the sixes. So you've got some price drops, lower pending sales. You definitely have, let me just make sure. Oh, you're low. Okay, lower new listings, higher active listings, and price drops are at 7%. So I would think there probably are some houses out there. Well, how about days on market? Let's look at that one. This one's a confusing one. Days on market. Let's see. Median days on market. That's what we want. Median days on market, 29 days. That's up 8.63 days year over year. So maybe there's just some houses on there that are expensive on the market and aren't moving. So they're cutting the prices. But it doesn't look like you're adding a lot of new inventory. What's happening with median sale price? Median sale price. It's kind of all over the place. $369,000. You peaked back in 2022. A lot of markets peaked in 2022 at $408,000. They were up 10% year over year at that point. You started this year at $358,000. So it's kind of just, I mean, let's look at the rate of change. Yeah, I mean, it's going down now, the rate of change, but now sideways, or it was going down recently, now sideways. So it started at down 3%. Now you're down 0.3%. So it looks like just like a frozen market, except there are more active listings. Maybe they just have price cuts and they're expensive, or they need a ton of work. It could be the case. But thanks for suggesting Shasta County, California. Is that where Mount Shasta is? Is there a Mount Shasta? I don't remember. I used to live out there. Okay, I'll do Riverside County. I got this one. Now, somebody already requested San Bernardino County, but I'll do Riverside County. Riverside County, California. New listings in Riverside. What do we got? Down 1.4%. This was like the epicenter of the crash, or one of them. I think home values in Riverside, San Bernardino County, it's kind of east of LA, east of Orange County. They were like, it was down like 50% home prices during the GFC. And inventory was through the roof. But new listings are down 1.4%. There is a lot of new building, though, in Riverside and San Bernardino, traditionally. So I'd imagine that's weighing on the market, I would think. Pending sales, down 4.4% year over year. That's a 4-year low in pending sales. So, I mean, I just got to double check this. So you're down in new listings, down in pending sales. Active listings, where are you there? Up 16, call it 17%. It's a 4-year high with active inventory. Price drops. Look at price drops explode. 7% of all active listings in the last 4 weeks have had a price drop. And median sale price. What's up with median sale price? 620,000. You're actually down a very fraction of a percentage, basically flat. You're really close to the peak of prices. Like back in 2024, $622,000 in Riverside County. Last year, in May of 2024, you ended last year at 612. You started last year at 578. You started this year at 606. Now you're at 620. No relief there for prices. None. I mean, you're basically at an all-time high as far as median sale price. What in the world? Now let's do San Bernardino County while we're at it, which is really close by. New listings in San Bernardino County, California, close by to Riverside County, not close by to me here. Down 1.4%, similar to Riverside. Look at that. New listings. Pending sales. Down as well, 7.2%. Active listings. What do we got? Only up 5.4% in San Bernardino. That really surprises me. I would think that would be, I was expecting to see like 30, 40%. Different markets are crazy when you look at them. Look at price cuts. 7% of all active listings, higher than the national average. Those have obviously gone up a lot. But now let's look at median sale price and see what we can get. Yeah, look at median sale price. $553,000, up 5.8% year over year. It's a 4-year high by far. You've been elevated all year with median sale price. And look, this is plain as day if you really look at it. Look at back in 2022. Look at the drop. You were at 521 in median sale price, then down to 494. And then let's go to active inventory and see what we see. Yeah, look at that. Active inventory started to just explode in 2022 there, as it did with a lot of other areas. I mean, you went up substantially that year. And when you went up with a ton of inventory, look what happened to the median price. Down. Like median price was going up, then you added all that inventory, the median price went down and kept going down until that inventory situation changed. But like, and so that, again, that's what you need to look at in your local market from a realtor, or if you're getting frustrated that you like want to see home price demise for the evil, whoever you think are evil, well, you need more inventory. So when you get more inventory, you'll get a crash. Got no inventory, got no crash. Wow. I'm shocked about San Bernardino County. I hope that helped though. Hillsborough County. CCD. What's up? Now, is this in Oregon? No, Florida. Or New Hampshire. Which one? I assume you're meaning Florida, but you never know. You got to tell me, CC. I'll come back to this one. But I need to know if it's New Hampshire or Florida. Any idea about housing price in California? Got to be more specific. Ahmad, I just need a metro or a county to look at. Wake County, Raleigh. North Carolina, huh? Wake County, North Carolina. Okay. All right. One I've never looked at before. And that's Raleigh, huh? Is that what you're telling me? The Raleigh area? New listings up 10% year over year. Not an explosion at all compared to 2022. But look at, well, let me do let me do pending sales first. Pending sales in Wake County. 406, up only 2.1%, but it's not down. At least it's not down. New listings. We already looked at that, but they're up 10%. I'm just kind of checking. Pending sales up 2%. Now, what about active listings? Wow. Look at this. 55, call it, might as well, 56% increase in active listings in Wake County, North Carolina. Geez, 4-year high by far. Like you're not even close to what you were a few years ago. I mean, it's just gone way up, way up. Price drops. What do we got there? This data is goofy. This says 9.3% of all listings have a price drop. That's a lot. Now, what happened to median sale price? Yeah, look at this. Look at median sale price start to go down. It's down 2% year over year. Congratulations. This is one of the markets we've looked at, one of the few markets where prices are actually down. A couple of them have been down, but not many. Down 2% year over year in Wake County, North Carolina. And you started at 471. Now you're at 486. Your all-time high was last summer at 508. 508. You ended last year at 484. Good grief. So things are, I mean, obviously houses are still expensive there. They haven't crashed by any means. But let's look at the rate of change. Look at the rate of change now, though, as far as home prices. They're heading down overall, right? Like you started the year up 4.7. I'm sorry. You started the year up 0.47. Now you're down 2.09%. So that rate of change is heading down. It means the difference between last year and this year is shrinking or going negative like it is now. So, interesting. Pretty cool info. But thanks for that. Wake County. Oh, yep. I got Wake County, North Carolina. I'm in New Jersey thinking of moving to Cape Coral. Oh, cool. Got it. Northport, Florida. Okay. Metro, what we got? Oh, that's not going to work. Right? Oh, there we go. Northport, Florida. Northport, Florida, new listings. Look at this, down 1.8%. You got fewer new listings hitting the market than this time last year and even in 2022. Let's do pending sales. How many people are buying homes there? Not many. Down 12.7%. What? Buyers and sellers are just like, nah, no thanks. I'm going to sit this one out, folks. All right, let's do active listings there. %19 up year over year, but it's starting to head down, and the rate of change is flat actually year over year. Not an explosion like I thought I would see. Price drops. What's up with that? Price drops. 9.1% of all listings have had a price drop in the last 4 weeks, which is higher. That's a 4-year high right now for this time of year. And then let's look at median sale price. Whoa, look at that. Down 12%. Down 12%. There's a market where prices are a lot lower than the peak. Look back in the peak in Florida. In Northport, Florida. $484,000 back in 2022. That looks like the all-time high. And it ended that year at 442. Then in 2023, it started at 448 and ended at 463. So it started to go back up. And then in 2024, it started at 463, but steadily went down to 447 at the end of the year. And then this year started at 437 and ended up now at 409. So is that a crash? Like, people have been wanting a crash. Well, there's a crash, I think, right? $484,000 to $409,000. Like, if you bought during this period of time, I mean, you probably feel like it's a crash if your home price went down that much of your home value. But let's go back and look at the inventory and see. We keep matching this up, but I think it's important to look at because a lot of people don't like the fact that it's driven by inventory. Like, they want some other circumstance to drive home prices down. Other circumstances could cause inventory to change, but until the inventory is on the market, there's not competition. So prices can't, or they'll struggle to come down. Yeah, look at inventory back in 2022. And well, so for a second, just look at how it separates every year. Like, each year there's a big separation of inventory there, meaning it's gone up steadily, up again, and up again. There's not like crossing lines at all, right? Like it started, this is insane. It started 2022 in Northport, Florida. Active homes for sale was down 51%. 51% when it started the year. Meaning comparing to 2021. That's crazy. And that was 2,170 homes for sale. Now, 10,320 homes for sale. So my point is that number steadily went up with active listings. Now look at the median sale price. The median sale price has gone steadily down, just as inventory has gone steadily up. So you got to just look at that inventory. It just is what it is. If you want to see price discovery, if you want to see motivated selling, if you want to see distressed selling, you got to watch the inventory in your market. You got to watch it. Well, that's a pretty eye-opening market, but thanks for suggesting that. I hope that helped. Here's a comment about Anessa. I'm in Mammoth County, New Jersey. I'm amazed at the number of people that migrated to Florida but are now leaving Florida and heading to the Carolinas and Tennessee. Just less expensive, maybe? I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. All right, Las Vegas. I did Las Vegas already. Midwest and hedge funds are in private equity firms to acquire the foreclosures coming forward and start building apartments. Your quality of life is going to change. That's already starting, man. It is. There's a lot of big investors buying still in the Midwest. And definitely in Columbus. Hudson Valley, New York. That's the next one, huh? Okay. Is that a metro? I don't know if they have that. Hudson. I've got Hudson, New York. I assume that's the same spot. Hopefully it is. I'm going to do it anyway. Hudson, New York. What do we got? 16.5. Okay. 16 new listings. Not a huge market. Pretty hard to analyze. What county is that in? Tell me what county. And I'll come back to it. Bridge over the Hudson. I'm going to need a county. Columbia, South Carolina. That's probably big enough. Well, maybe not. What? You're going to have to tell me what county it's in. What county is Columbia, South Carolina in? La Quinta, California. You guys are giving me some small metros here. That's okay. Do we have that? No. And again, I'm going to need a county from you to be able to put it in, because it's not going to play nice. Boise, Idaho. Okay, that's a good one. I'm not saying the other ones aren't good. I just need a county. Boise City, Idaho. Let's do that county. That's Ida County, right? Ida County, Idaho. Whoops, that's not going to work. Oops, that's Ida County. Come on, Jay. Ada County, right? Isn't that it? 248. Let me go back to the metro. I don't want to mess this up. You guys are probably like, what is Jason doing? It's alive, folks. You gotta bear with me. Oh, there's more here. Okay. So new listings in Boise City, Idaho. 367 down. That's right, down in Boise City, 7%. And you say you see a lot of them. Oh, you see a lot of price cuts. We're going to find out. Pending sales. What's next on pending sales here? What do we got? With Boise City, Idaho. 4.4% down. Pending sales. People aren't buying, And new listings are down too. People aren't selling. Shoot. All right, what do we got? Price drops, price drops, price drops. 7.7% up. No, I'm sorry. 7.7% of all active listings have a price drop in Boise City, Idaho. Okay. Let's look at, did I look at active listings? Active listings down 10%. Down 10% in Boise. Or 11%. So you have fewer active listings for sale than you did this time last year. Again, look at 2022 there. Holy shnikes, 40% increase year over year at that time. That was when you had a lot of inventory. Median sale price. It's down, what is that? 2%. Somewhat of a price difference, but it's kind of gone sideways all year. You peaked, though, back at 546. Again, look at 2022, how it went up and then down, probably because of active listings. Let's look at active listings again. Yeah, look at active listings. Just skyrocket back in 2022. And hence you had lower median sale price, no doubt, right? It just followed it. As the market went up in active inventory, prices started to come down. And they came down a lot. I mean, that was an all-time high. Now you're 484. So you're like, what is that? You're like, I mean, that's a lot. That's, sorry, my dog is driving me nuts here. That's like $65,000 off your peak. Wow. Okay. Sorry for my delay. But you're noticing a lot with price drops. Okay. Obviously, they're not low enough or they would sell. It's kind of how that works, right? Oh, yeah, Austin. Austin. Hey, Debbie. Are you going to move to Austin? Hey, man, I'm going to come visit you if you are. I assume that's who I'm talking to on there here. It's probably a different Debbie and with the same, middle and last name, and I'm making a fool of myself. But I'm pretty sure it's the same person. Okay. New listings in Austin, up 2.5% year over year. Not that much. Not that much at all. Like, not a lot of inventory hitting the market. There could be a lot of inventory already on the market. Let's find out. Pending sales first. Look at pending sales. Only a 0.3. Nobody's really buying there. Nobody's listing. However, the ones that are listed, what's going on with them? Are there a lot? Yeah, look at this. Active listings, 16.8% up year over year. Active listings, 15,256. So that's a 4-year high. I mean, back in 2022, there were only 6,000 active listings. Now there's 15,000. A lot more homes to choose from. A lot more homes to choose from. I bet you median days on market. What's that doing? Median days on market. How long is the property sitting there? 52.63, up 8.5 days year over year. But that's a big difference from where it was at 24 days back in 2022. Let's look at, did we look at price drops already? No, look at price drops. 8.9%, nearly 9% of all listings have had a price drop, so a lot of price cuts. Look at the price cuts in 2022 there. Yikes. It got up to 12.7% of all homes had a price cut in 4 weeks. Wow. That was a crazy time. Things have kind of stabilized there, it looks like, somewhat with inventory. But now let's look at median sale price and see what happened then. Wow. Geez. down 2% year over year. Median sale price in Austin, Texas, $451,000. Again, it all has to do with inventory, right? Like the prices have actually gone up there this year from where they started. They started at 440 grand, right? Now they're 451. So Austin's like, maybe the pain has already been felt there. They already rushed to put their homes on the market at one point back in 2022, right? And where median sale price was 574, now it's 451. And all that inventory hit the market and prices just went way down. And now they're actually gone up this year since the beginning of the year, not down. But it's still a 4-year low for prices. That's Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas. Let's see. Richland. Are you talking about Richland? I don't know. Where is that? Richland what? I need like a state or something. So I'll pick the wrong one. Oh, Richland County. Got it. For Columbia. You got it. You got it. Let's do it. Richland. Richland County, South Carolina. New listings. Down 7.5%. Not as many, houses hitting the market compared to last year. Pending sales. What do we got with pending sales? Up 8.5%. You got more people buying a home versus this time last year. Now let's look at active listings. Wow. Only up 1.64%. Probably because nobody's adding any new listings, right? It's down so much. Right? New listings are down, right? Sometimes these get jumbled up. Yeah, new listings are down and pending sales are up. And that's taken away from active inventory because active listings are down. I mean, they're headed down. They're still up 1.64%. But look at the rate of change. You started the year up 21% in terms of inventory year over year. Now you're all the way down to 1.64% up year over year. So it's that trend is down. Less and less active listings for sale. Fewer and fewer active listings for sale, I should say. Okay, now let's do price drops. What do we got? 7.2% of all active listings, while there aren't that many, have had a price drop in the last 4 weeks. And then let's do median sale price. Median sale price, $269, up 3.7% year over year. That's a 4-year high right now for this time of year with median sale price in Richland County, South Carolina. And there's not a ton of inventory, so I don't see this changing too much, right? The price may fluctuate somewhat, the median sale price, depending on what you're looking at. But if you're hoping for like a big downdraft of the median sale price, doesn't look like it's going to happen. At least according to the data I'm seeing, but every market's different and everything's hyper local. So it could, in the subdivision you're looking in, be drastically different, especially depending on the price point you're looking at. All right, let's do Oakland County, Michigan. Oakland. Oops, what am I doing here? Oakland County, Michigan. What do we got? New listings down 1.7%. Pending sales, how many people are buying a house? Up 3.4%. A little more activity with buyers. Well, fewer homes hitting the market. Active listings up 10% year over year. It's a 4-year high for this time of year. But again, like other markets, look back in 2022. You had 3,883 active listings. Now you got 2,476 active listings. So it's still not that impressive, right? It's not probably causing a ton of carnage yet. You just don't have enough inventory. But look at the price cuts. 6.2%, definitely a 4-year high for this time of year. Back in 2022, he had 7.8% of all homes had a price cut. Now let's look at median sale price. Median sale price, look at that, straight up, $371,000, up 8.6%. Good grief. No relief at all there for prices. And that's is that a 4-year high by far? Thank you. Yeah, you can just let him out. Thanks, Max. Can you block that door so they can't, because otherwise they're just going to scratch at it to come back in. I had to deal with my dog. Sorry about that. 376 was let's see, 371. You're almost at the all-time high there in Oakland County, Michigan. Crazy. Okay. Right. Smash the like button. No one likes a freeloader. Just looked at Oakland County, Michigan. Dan in the dirt. What's up, Dan? How is San Diego? Well, let's find out. What's up, Tommy Lee? San Diego. Okay, San Diego. What do we got? Whoops. You don't want to look at that first, do you? That's the big reveal at the end. 5.8% up year over year with new listings. They really started to take off at the beginning of the year, though. At one point, you were up 13%. Pending sales down 6.2%. People were not buying homes there in San Diego. Active listings. What's up with active listings? Look at that. Gee, Tommy Lee. 27% more homes on the market versus last year in San Diego, California. It's heading to a 4-year high by far, or it's headed to a 4-year high. But it always increases, like it looked like it increased in 2022 and 2024. It increased like in the kind of early fall time, late summer. I guess that is summer, August. Let's look at price drops. 7.2%. It keeps going up as far as the number of homes getting a price cut. So probably a lot of expensive homes, I'm guessing, there with just multiple price cuts just sitting on the market, because people, doesn't look like the demand there is huge. Let's look at median sale price. Median sale price is flat, basically $926,000. Your peak was last summer at $950,000. And you started this year at $878,000. Looks like every year, like most markets, you start lower in the beginning and then you go up. However, if there's going to be pain in a marketplace, I would guess that you would see that number if there was tons of inventory right now and earlier this year. And if sellers were really that desperate or in that much pain, if there was a lot of distress selling, as people like to talk about on YouTube, then you would see it in, I would think you'd see it in the active listings and see it in the median sale price if there's a bunch of people fire selling their houses. But not seeing that in San Diego yet. Okay. So at some point, I got to get back to my list here because this live will never end and I got more markets to do. So I did. All right. I'm going to do Milwaukee next, unless somebody has another one. Milwaukee. Or as they say in Wayne's World 2, Milwaukee. Or is that Wayne's World 1? I can't remember. 8.5% increase in new listings in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Got more new listings. Pending sales, what we got here? 2.2% up year over year. More people selling, more people buying. It's an exciting market in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Active listings. Oh no, those are down 1.89%. So, I mean, it's just crazy, right? You get a market like San Diego where active listings are up 30% year over year. Then you get a market like Milwaukee where active listings are down year over year. Price drops. What do we got? 3.2%. That's it. Not a lot of price drops in Milwaukee. Median sale price in Milwaukee. What's that? 341 up 3.3% year over year. So it's just an unhealthy market there for buyers, right? Sellers are still, looks like they're still in command of the market. Okay, that's Milwaukee. Next is Fort Lauderdale. I always spell this wrong. Oh, it's Fort. That's why I messed it up. F-O-R-T instead of F-T. All right. New listings in Fort Lauderdale. Look at this, down 6.1%. Again, craziness that these different markets, how they present themselves. Pending sales in Fort Lauderdale. 18% down pending sales. Nobody's buying there. Not a lot of people selling either, but no one's buying. That's a 4-year low by far. Active listings, only up 20%. Price drops in Fort Lauderdale, 5.8%. Not that extreme. Let's look at median sale price. What do we got? Look at that. Median sale price is a 4-year high for this time of year in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 468 grand, up 3.6% year over year. So there's no crash in Fort Lauderdale. At least I can't see one. It looks like a pretty steady market, actually. I don't know. A lot of these Florida markets don't have as much carnage as you would think you would see, right? They just don't. I expect a lot more carnage already than I'm seeing in the numbers anyway. But I don't live down there, so everything's hyper local with real estate. All right, let's do the next one. All right, somebody requested Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama. New listings in Huntsville. 14.9% increase in new listings. That's a lot. It's a 4-year high. That's by far a 4-year high. Pending sales in Huntsville. What do we got? Down 4.4%. A lot of sellers, not a lot of buyers. Active listings in Huntsville. Here's what's weird. Look at that. Down 0.03%. Basically flat. It's like it's been flat or kind of steady all year. Maybe there was a lot of inventory added last year, but I would think this number would be a lot higher unless people are removing their home from the market, which is very possible. A lot of sellers will take their home off the market if they're not getting what they want, and that's not a need to sell, folks. That's a want to sell. Big difference. Let me do price drops real quick. Price drops in Huntsville, Alabama. What do we got? 6.9%, like a lot of other markets. And now I do median sale price. Median sale price in Huntsville, $325,000, basically flat. I don't know that you're up a ton or down a ton. I mean, it looks like it's kind of fallen into range of what you usually see. You were down for a while, down 4%, down 3%, down 3% year over year, but now you climb back up. So a lot more new listings hitting the market right now. It'll be interesting to see if active listings increase and changes or softens the sale price. But right now it's not, because your active listings are basically flat. And that's in the South. So I thought for sure I would see more active listings in Huntsville, Alabama. Oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you. I mean, great show. Thank you. Sandusky, Ohio. Okay, let's do it. Sandusky, Ohio. What do we got? Up 17% year over year in new listings, so definitely more than last year. Pending sales, what are those doing? Oh, no. Wow. Up 15%. A lot more sellers and a lot more buyers up there. Active listings, up 12%. You actually have, like, so far it looks like kind of headed towards maybe a normal market where you've got I'm not saying the inventory and prices are normal. I'm saying, though, you've got some people, got a handful of people listing. You got some people buying. You got active listings up. Price drops. Let's see how that is. Or those are 5.3% up year over year with price drops. And for this year, this time of year, it's a 4-year high. So people are cutting their price. And now median sale price, what do we got? $235,000, up 3% still, unfortunately. But last year you peaked at 267. So will you hit that this year? I don't know. Maybe not. No, I'm sorry. That's 31% up year over year. But you had kind of a big downdraft for some reason in this time, in like the early May, like right now, mid-May. So I wouldn't read too much into that. But right now you're up 31% year over year in median sale price in Sandusky. And if I remember right, Zane, you're looking for like a starter home or, your first home, I believe, an affordable house. So I'm curious to know if you're seeing any out there. Okay, so let me go back to the list, my list. San Bernardino, Ventura County. Man, I have a lot on here. I'm going to do a couple more on here, but let me look at some comments real quick. I guess. Sure. Let me do that for you. I'm just kidding. That's fine. Fremont County. Nope. That's Fremont County, Colorado. Is that what you said? I don't see that. Oh. Yeah, I don't see that on here. Am I spelling it right? Fremont. Yeah, I don't see it on here. No, I don't see it on here. Why don't I see it? What am I doing wrong? I don't know. Tell me, Zane. What am I doing wrong here? I'll come back to it. Sandusky County. You must be using like voice to text or something. Sandusky County. Okay. I'll redo this now. All right. So new listings. Sandusky County. Is it any different? Yeah, down 20% year over year. You only had 11 in Sandusky County, Ohio. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure that data is great to look at with that number of new listings. I don't know. Pending sales down or up 10%, only 13 pending sales. Active inventory, what do you got? That's down 7%, or I'm sorry, up 7%, but it's headed down now. What are they showing for median sale price, though? Some of the markets where there's not very many homes or the transactions are very low, it's hard to really look at the graphs because the data is not very helpful. There's just a very few number of home transactions. Look at this. Median price, $187,000, up 17% year over year. I don't know if that helped you or not. It probably didn't. I don't know. Have you got with the local realtor in Ohio? I would, if you really want great info, look in the MLS in a specific area you want to buy in the price point and have them pull all this information for you. And look at a trend over the last like as far as you can go back. Have them pull it as far as they can go. And if you talk to a realtor and they can't pull that data, find a new realtor. They should be able to pull it easily. I can't pull it because I don't have access to the MLS up there. It's just in Central Ohio, unfortunately. But thanks for suggesting that. Okay. Now, I was going to do Atlanta anyway. So that's cool. I'll do Atlanta. That's a big metro. New listings in Atlanta, Georgia, down 1.8%. A lot of investors there. They must not be in distress, or they're selling their properties off market. And that's the thing, folks. If you need to sell your property, you're not going to sell it off market unless you're like, you already have a buyer or something. Otherwise, you're going to put it on the market. If you're desperate to sell your house and you're like, I want the highest price possible and I want to sell it fast, you're going to advertise it everywhere. Why wouldn't you? So I don't think they're hidden listings. There's just not a lot of new listings there, period. Pending sales down. Atlanta is just not active. It's just not. Active listings. Yeah, look at this. Active listings only up 18%. It's a 4-year high for this time of year, but not a 4-year high all over. Again, just like a lot of other metros, look at 2022. That's when everything went nuts with inventory. Median sale price. $404,000. Whoops, let me look at price cuts first. My bad. Price drops. 7.1%. A little higher than the national average. Now let's look at median sale price. $404,000. That's up 1% year over year, basically flat. It's a 4-year high for this time of year, but you peaked last year at $420,000. And just like a lot of other metros in 2022, when you peaked and that inventory came in, when rates went through the roof, inventory flooded the market and prices went down. Went down a lot. Look at that, 404,000 all the way down to 365. So one thing's clear, like a lot of these metros, you can tell the median sale price peaks in the summer, in the spring, right? And it declines, and it's the softest in the winter. So if you really want a deal, maybe you wait till the winter. Maybe it's better to buy in the winter overall. It probably is for a buyer. It's not as exciting because you got to move in the winter. You also got to change school if your kids are in school or something. Maybe you have to change school. Nobody wants to move in the winter. But it's clear that that's when the prices are the lowest overall when you look at these graphs. I just can't believe it that the median sale price still keeps going up there, and that an inventory isn't more, I don't know, hasn't exploded more than what I'm seeing in Atlanta. Oh, going back to Sandusky. Zane Myers, a realtor we have been working with, is pretty much says pull the trigger on anything around 200,000 because they go fast. We're trying to save into the 300,000s because that seems to be where the discounts are. Yeah, I would agree. Like, that makes sense. Like, I don't know that market specifically, but that advice isn't horrible, because if you're not seeing anything sit on the market for $200,000, to expect prices to come down there for you to finally find the burning bush and the magical deal, it's not realistic. You have to be realistic, I think. So if the price cuts you're seeing and the value is at the $300,000 mark, maybe you go out and make a low offer on a $300,000 house. Maybe that's what you're already doing. But yeah, that's kind of what's happening here in Columbus. Houses around $200,000, especially houses under 200 grand, if they're in decent shape at all, in decent areas, they're going quickly. But in the mid price points, like once you get over like 400, 450, even over the median at 350, then you start seeing homes sit on the market and kind of waller a little bit. That's why if you're going to flip a home, by the way, folks, flip under the median. Don't flip over the median overall, unless you really know what you're doing, because you'll get whacked over the median. much more of a chance to take a loss than if you flip under the median, because affordable housing is hard to find. Okay. So there's one more I was going to look at here, and then I'll look at some more comments. There were a couple comments I wanted to respond to earlier that I saw. New listings in Flagstaff, Arizona. That was my next stop. Look at 70 new listings, 25% increase in Flagstaff, Arizona. Flagstaff's expensive, and it seems like utilities there and whatnot are really hard to come by. Feels like they have a water shortage there, but beautiful area. I was there last summer. Pending sales in Flagstaff, 42 pending sales, up 11%. Active listings in Flagstaff, up 38%. Price drops in Flagstaff. Oh, look at that. Only up 4.7%. And median sale price in Flagstaff, Arizona, up 11% year over year. Prices haven't really crashed there at all. Look at that. Look at the prices there. Like, well, again, I take that back. Look at 2022. They were up at 698. Then they fell all the way down to 548. But then it ended that year in 2022, 586. And it kept going and kept going. 682 now. So it's climbing back up in Flagstaff, Arizona. There was a comment here that I thought I should respond to. Reventure app, venture consulting on YouTube. Good channel for statistics. The app, pricey in my opinion, unless I was very serious in purchasing a home. Yeah. He has some good data on his app, no doubt about it. One of the things I thought was interesting is I have analyzed some of his data, and he actually has home prices up higher than I've seen in other platforms, which surprised me. I thought he would have some type of bug in the program to always show a future of declining prices, right? I think that's like, he's just a perma bear. I wonder if he invests in real estate. Does he ever say on his channel? I don't really follow him, but I'm wondering if he actually invests in real estate or if he just talks about it. But if you guys know, let me know. Just kind of curious. But yeah, I think he'll always say prices are going to go down. Like, it'd be interesting to see a video of him saying prices here are going to go up. It's like, what? Nah, they're always going to go down. It was actually the first channel I ever watched on YouTube with real estate, right when I got into the business. And he was like, prices are going to crash. And I thought, shoot, I must have gotten the wrong business. But they just went to the moon. Now, nobody could predict COVID, but I thought it was interesting that he immediately, first thing I saw was prices are going to crash. And I was like, oh, no. But they didn't. Let me take this off. Gainesville, Florida. Oscar. What's up, Oscar? Okay. Since you're looking to buy there. Gainesville. Did I spell that right? No, I didn't. It's my bad. My bad. 122 units in new listings, down 3%. So you're going to have less to pick from for new listings anyway. But before we conclude that, let's look at our active listings. But first, pending sales down 16%. So not a lot of demand. So you probably don't have a lot of competition if you're buying, depending on the price point, exactly where you're buying. But overall in Gainesville, you're down 16% in pending sales or buyer activity or buyer demand, however you want to say it. Active inventory. Look at this. You're only up 14.8% in active listings. So you've got, what's that? another 200 active homes on the market compared to last year. Not that many. Price drops. 8.2%. That's higher than the national number. So there are more people dropping their price compared to last year, no doubt. Last year was 7.2% because it's up 1% year over year. And now let's look at median sale price. What do we got? Median sale price, $330,000, up 2% down 2% year over year. But it's starting to head up. Last year, the market peaked at 337. So it looks like people are cutting their prices. There's a little more active inventory, but buyer demand, it looks like, is a little lower, or it is lower than it was this time last year. So maybe you can fish out a deal if you look for something that's been on the market a long time or a while, right? Something that's been on the market, 30, 45, 60 days, depending on what's normal there. Let's look at median days on market. Yeah, look at this. Median days on market, 36 days. So if you found a home that's been on the market for 50 days, 50 days, that would tell you maybe there's an opportunity to make a lower offer. Maybe. Depending on what you're looking for. But buyer demand there looks a little lower. The problem is I don't see the big change in prices yet. And new listings. What are those doing again? New listings? What are those doing there? New listings are actually down. And that's not good for buyer. I mean, that's not good for you as a buyer because you're not adding a ton of new homes to the market. You're probably going to have to be patient depending on what price point you're buying in, and probably have to make some disrespectful offers if you want a deal, and maybe one of the sellers will actually play ball, right? But good luck finding your house in Gainesville, Florida. I hope that helped, Oscar. I look at multiple states. I wonder if asking around 50% off asking would be disrespectful. Not that I care. I mean, it really depends on how long homes have been sitting on the market, Dan. So do all that research, right? Get with a local realtor in that market. Have them pull exactly where you want to buy from, where you want to buy. Look at the days on market on average. What's been going on in the last few years, how long homes take to sell. Look at active inventory. And you can also look at prices. But if you just look at inventory and days on market, it'll give you an idea of where that trend's headed. And if you're seeing homes sit on the market longer and longer, chances are you can make a more disrespectful offer. If homes are selling quicker and inventory is dropping, the chances of getting accepted are slim. You can make an offer. Like I just got an offer a couple days ago on a home that, I'll just say it was off. I got an offer on a home 33% off of list price. Cash offer, 33% off list price. Now the seller's not going to take it. No punishment. You're not going to go to jail for making an offer low. So I hope that answers. Maybe you weren't even asking a question, but maybe that gives you some more info. Okay. Wow. I've set a record for myself. 2 hours, 13 minutes, 24 seconds and counting. This was a long live. Had a lot of cities to review. Okay. You may have some questions. Maybe I didn't see them. I apologize. I apologize if I didn't hit on your metro. Leave it in the comments after the live, and I will do my best to get to it on the next one. But as my channel grows, I get more and more of these requests. By the way, thank you for your time today. Thank you for the attention. Yeah, I'm beat. So I'm going to end this live. Have a nice evening. We'll see you on the next Housing Nerd video. I'm the Housing Nerd, and I am out. OUT, out.